What's going on, people, and welcome to another top 10, and this one that won it from last week's tab in the poll was Tottenham. So it's my all-time favourite top 10 Tottenham players. Hope you enjoyed the list. Let me know yours in the comments. Let's get into it. At number 10, the big man up top, Peter Crouch. Legend for his iconic robot celebration. A great character and personality. You can tell that he's one of them in the dressing room as well that would bond the group. Practical jokes, the lot. Obviously does a fantastic podcast as well if you haven't heard that. But I thought he was a very underrated player. He had a very good record with England as well, games to goal, and was obviously involved with Redknapp at Tottenham where they were in the Champions League and stuff, and he was there. I know it didn't last forever for him there, and he didn't really want to leave, but I thought at certain times for them he was very, very crucial to them and how they played. And for a big man, he was always really exceptional with his technique. Scored some bicycle kicks. I remember that one for Liverpool he scored. I think that was in the Champions League. Just very good technically for such a big guy, as I said. And one very underrated for England as well, and had an underrated career in general, I believe. So big fan of him, great personality on and off the pitch. Peter Crouch, number 10. Number 9, another character really, and loud as Crouch was, but character on the field more in terms of pulling his team through it, and that was Robbie Keane. Great goal scorer, very clever around the box, timed his runs to perfection. As I said, really clever with his movement, and a very underrated player. Even had a little stint at Inter Milan, and he was that well sought after and thought of. So another one that's a bit underrated. I think one of Tottenham's easily the best all-time attackers for them. I think it was underrated. Didn't really win anything with them, but could have. I think he had the ability to and was good enough. Just probably suffered with teammates that weren't as good at times. But I think he was a very good captain for them for the number of years that he did it. And another one that had a very good career, I think, and is a bit underrated. Robbie Keane, number 9. Number 8, Kyle Walker. Obviously still going, still looks to not have lost any of his pace that he's always had. Won a ton of things with Man City now. But I know he was really highly thought of at Tottenham and his time there and what he did. And I think he was very crucial to them. Champions Leagues and things like that with them. I know they never went on to win it or nothing, but he was a big part of that squad. He had a few injuries here and there, but I think he's gone on to have a really good career. Still in England as well for the national side and picked a lot. I think he was very good at the Euros for us as well. So another one that consistently very good. Most games he's going to give you probably 7 or 8 out of 10 for club and country. And one that at right back's one of Tottenham's best ever, I think. So had to make the list for me. Kyle Walker, number 8. Number 7, Ledley King. I think a lot of guys forget about this guy because he had a lot of injury problems and missed a ton of football. But when he was playing on the pitch, he was the captain, and I thought he just led by example, not just because he was captain, but how he performed. Didn't really train because his legs were going, and he had like bad knee problems, so he couldn't train a whole lot. But he wouldn't train all week, and then he'd go and play on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you wouldn't be able to tell. Like, he was that good. Played for England a little bit, and it's a shame with the injuries because I think if he'd have been fit, I would have personally gone with Terry and King for our centre-back pairing for England for all them years, but it was kind of shared out through others. But I think if King didn't have the injuries he did, he would have gone on and be spoken about to be one of England's best ever centre-backs. I think he was that good. Just career ruined by injury. Ledley King, number 7. Number 6, Christian Eriksen. Obviously at United now, big fan of him, always liked the way he's played. Stuff that happened at the Euros with him was dreadful and a shock at the time, and I'm just glad that he's still here and he's gone on to do what he's done since. I don't necessarily agree with him continuing his career because I think it's too much of a gamble, but he seems to be doing fine now. He's happy again, but the health is the main thing. But obviously a vital part of that Tottenham team when he was there for a number of years, their best player, or top 2 at least, I'd say. Fundamental in how they played, playing that number 10 role, and helped them massively. Yeah, a crucial player for them, obviously helped them as well in the Champions League run they went on into the semi-finals. Great player, and he's still doing it even after what happened to him. I can't speak highly enough of him. Christian Eriksen, number 6. Number 5, another brilliant finisher of a ball. I think one of England's natural best ever finishers, and that is Jermaine Defoe. Had a pretty good career for England, but always played that kind of that role player role in terms of he was the backup, and didn't really start a ton of games. But I think as a natural goal scorer, he's one of the best that our country's ever produced. He's done it through countless clubs through his career. But for England as well, I think he come up when he needed to. He just didn't get as many opportunities and chances that I think he should have at times. But as I said, one of the most natural finishers of a football I've ever seen. Pacey as well, strong for someone that was so small, and just someone that you'd love to get coached off nowadays, even though he's not playing now, because you know he's that intelligent. And he's only recently retired too, so I think a fantastic career, very underrated player. Jermaine Defoe, number 5. Number 4, a guy that's still doing it, and he's probably going to retire in a few years, but still playing at the highest level and still doing stuff that to this day makes me go, wow, this just you can't match it. And that's Luka Modric. Certain assists he does. I remember the outside of the foot one for, I believe it was it Rodrigo? I think it was Rodrigo against Chelsea. Like, the ball was inch perfect onto his head, and got them into I think it was the final for that. So, unbelievable player. I think he was class at Tottenham. He should have won something there for me. And it's gone on to do even more at Madrid. The amount of stuff he's won with Madrid. And he's still there. And I think he's still a brilliant player, even though he's probably going to retire very soon. One of my favourite ever players to watch in that midfield position and what he does. He works hard off the ball as well. He never does anything wrong for me in terms of stuff off the field. He's never in trouble, or just a true professional and a brilliant player. And one that is just unbelievable ability that he has. So, Modric, number 4. Number 3, HeungMin Son. You could argue that he could be in any top 3 spots for me in this list. I've put him at 3, more so because he's probably not been at the club as long as one of the others, and another one of the others I just couldn't put him above, because you could argue that he should be, but for me, it was tight. It was tough to choose. So at 3, I've got a Son. I actually think he is probably Tottenham's best player currently. He's not had a great season so far, but in terms of all-round ability and what he offers, I think he is underrated at times. Obviously, he does get spoken about a lot and gets quite a lot of limelight, but sometimes I think people don't realise how good he is. And for me, he's got a great goal-scoring record for Tottenham. That link up with Kane. They've now got Kulusevski, Perisic, Richarlison. Their attack is just unbelievable at the moment. They've got tons of options. He's not had a great season so far, but we know that he will come back and bounce back, and because he's done it countless times. Gone on to serve his country in the war, like going away for his country and helping them, like during seasons and stuff, like the dedication and discipline he's had to have. I watched a documentary on him and his upbringing, how his dad was so disciplined and strict on him, and without that we probably wouldn't have him, just because it drove him on to become the player he's become. So consistent, such a good player, a leader for his country when they play as well. I just think he's a fantastic player, and one that people will appreciate probably more when he's retired, which is a shame, because I know how good he is. And that's Son, number 3. As I said, he could have been 2 or 1, but I had to put them in positions, and the other 2, I couldn't put them behind him, because one of them's been there longer, and I think he will go down as arguably the best ever there, and the other one is kind of like a preference thing. So number 2 is Gareth Bale. Didn't have as long a career, I don't believe, at Tottenham that Son's had. I might be wrong with that, but off the top of my head, I don't think he did. But for a few years there, Bale was unbelievable. That run they went on in the Champions League, I remember the goals against Inter Milan. He did it against Maicon, I think, at the time, who at the time was one of the best fullbacks in the world, and he made him look silly against a team that was very defensive and hard to play against in Inter Milan, and he ran the show. Obviously, he started off as a left-back. They pushed him further forward and ended up as a winger. And he's even played as a striker at times, like in that central position. Vital for his country in different tournaments, how they've done in the Euros at times, and come up clutch in high-pressure situations. Even when he's one of them players that can have a terrible game and he's quiet, but then one moment and he'll do something amazing. I think he's wasted his career a bit at times in terms of just playing it easy sometimes instead of challenging himself. But he's won how many I think he's won like 5 Champions Leagues, and he's not always been involved. He's sometimes been on the bench, not played at all, but he's still got winners' medals. But I think sometimes he could have challenged himself a bit more with like moving at certain points in his career. And I know his relationship with the Madrid fans has always been a struggle, which I can get a bit, but on the other hand I can't, because he was vital in some of them Champions League winning seasons that they had. And like I said, for Tottenham, he was, I think, the best player in the world at times. So he has to make this list. I put him in at number 2, another one that could have been number 1. And number 1, guys, is Harry Kane. I prefer Son to Kane, if I'm honest, and I probably prefer Bale to Kane just as a footballer. But in terms of what he's done for the club, I think what he'll continue to do, and the longevity, I think he'll be at the club longer than Son is, even though he's been wanting to leave. I think he will stay for a number of years now, probably, and I think he will back it up with more and more numbers. He's going to try his best to reach Shearer's record. Don't know if he will, but I think he's going to have a great chance of breaking it if he can stay clear of injuries. And I just think, in terms of England, I think he's vital for us in tournaments when he's at it. The penalty ratio and like success rate he has is unbelievable. And just coming through that system at Tottenham and to become from such a young player, going on to do what he's done, the numbers you can't argue with. You could argue with the stuff if you're a Tottenham fan, like, what's his loyalty now? Is he going to be gone soon? I get that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he stays now and continues it, because he's used to it, and I think that he will want to break records, and I think I could see it happening. So Kane, I couldn't have him anywhere else on this list, just out of respect. As I said, I prefer players to him on this list, but in terms of like stats, achievements, longevity, I think he's going to be the one. So Harry Kane, number 1. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. I'd like to see your list to compare them. And before I go, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I'm waiting. What are you waiting for? I'm waiting. I'm here. I'm showing up. Where are you? I'm waiting for you. Don't be late for this bus. Come and join me on the road to 2000 by the 1st of December, but let's get there before it. What are you waiting for?